Kang Min-jae, Seoul's most feared underboss, stood in his penthouse counting the 14th coin. 14 identical Korean won coins, each placed deliberately in locations only someone with access to his private world could reach. Inside his bulletproof car, on his office desk, beneath his whiskey glass at his exclusive club, even on his bathroom counter at dawn. The woman who left them was a complete unknown, a black woman with box braids who appeared in his security footage for exactly 3 seconds per location, always looking directly at the camera, always smiling like she knew something that could destroy him. His head of security was dead. His tech expert had vanished. His most loyal lieutenant refused to enter the building where the last coin appeared. Every coin bore a microscopic engraving that his jeweler confirmed would cost more than a luxury car to create, GPS coordinates. The question wasn't what she wanted. The question was how a complete outsider had infiltrated an organization that executed people for knowing too much, and why Min-jae, who'd ordered 18 kills this year alone, was following her trail instead of burning it. Welcome to Aurora Love Saga, where dangerous love knows no boundaries. Today's story will take you on an emotional journey through the dark underworld of Korean organized crime and a love that defies all odds. If you love intense romance and thrilling drama, subscribe now and join our family. Now, let's dive into today's story. Kang Min-jae didn't believe in ghosts, but he was starting to believe in impossibilities. The first coin appeared 3 weeks ago on a Tuesday morning. He'd walked into his office at the Cheongdam-dong headquarters, a building secured by retinal scanners, armed guards rotated every 4 hours, and a security system that cost more than most Seoul apartments. On his black marble desk, centered perfectly on his daily briefing folder, sat a single 501 coin. His secretary swore she hadn't seen anyone enter. The overnight security logs showed no breaches. The cameras revealed nothing but static for exactly 47 seconds at 4:23 a.m. Min-jae had been in this business for 12 years. He'd inherited his father's position at 26 after a rival family's attack left the old man paralyzed. In those 12 years, he'd learned that unexplained events were usually explained by betrayal, and betrayal was usually explained by money or fear. He'd had his secretary questioned. She knew nothing. He'd had the security team replaced. The coins kept appearing. By the 7th coin, his lieutenant Park Sung-ho suggested they were dealing with a professional. Someone hired by the Busan faction, he'd said. Psychological warfare before a hit. Min-jae had considered it. The Busan faction had been quiet since their failed territory grab last spring. Too quiet. This could be their opening move. Then came the 8th coin, and with it, the first glimpse of her. The security footage from his private club showed her for exactly 3 seconds. She wore a black leather jacket and dark jeans, her box braids pulled back in a high ponytail. She walked past his reserved table, placed something down with the precision of a surgeon, and kept walking. No hesitation, no looking around. She moved like she belonged there, like she owned the space. When Min-jae's people tried to track her, the cameras went dark. Every single one within a 3-block radius, dead for 90 seconds. "Find her," Min-jae had ordered. They'd tried. God knows they'd tried. His head of security, a former NIS agent named Choi, had been the best in the business. He'd found her within 48 hours. Her name was Amara Okonkwo, 28 years old, Nigerian-British, in Seoul on a cultural exchange visa, working as a financial consultant. The quotation marks were Choi's. "There's no company," Choi had reported, standing in Min-jae's office with a tablet full of data. "The visa's legitimate, but the company she claims to work for? Registered 2 weeks before she arrived. No clients, no revenue, no employees except her." "Family?" Min-jae had asked. "Parents deceased. One brother works in London finance. No criminal record anywhere. No debt. No obvious leverage points. Then why is she here?" Choi had hesitated. In 12 years, Min-jae had never seen him hesitate. "Sir, I think she's running a game we don't understand yet. That was 5 days ago. Yesterday morning, Choi's body was found in his apartment. Natural causes, according to the police report. Heart attack. He was 34 years old and ran marathons. Min-jae didn't believe in coincidences either. The 14th coin appeared this morning, and this time, there was a difference. This one had been professionally engraved with coordinates so small he'd needed a jeweler's loupe to read them. His jeweler, a man who'd worked with his father and knew when to ask questions and when to stay silent, had gone pale when he examined the engraving. This level of precision. Mr. Kang, this would require laser micro-engraving equipment, the kind that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, the kind that only exists in maybe 3 facilities in all of South Korea. And to do this on a coin, the steadiness required, the technical skill, can you trace it? No one who has this equipment would risk using it for something like this, unless what? Unless they wanted you to know they have resources that match yours. Min-jae had sent the jeweler away with the usual reminder about discretion and the usual unspoken threat about what happened when discretion failed. Now he sat in his office, the 14 coins arranged in a perfect line on his desk. The coordinates from the latest one were already entered into his phone. They pointed to an address in Seongdong-gu, an area he knew well, an area that housed one of his organization's money-counting operations. Park Sung-ho entered without knocking, which meant bad news. "We have a problem," he said. Min-jae didn't look up from the coins. "Another one?" "The Busan faction is making moves. They're talking to our suppliers. 3 of them have gone quiet in the past week." "Handle it." Min-jae. Park used his first name, which meant this was serious. "We can't handle supplier issues and this coin situation at the same time. We need to choose a priority." Min-jae finally looked up. Park was loyal, competent, and occasionally too careful. They'd grown up together, survived together, built this organization together after his father's decline. "The coins are the priority," Min-jae said. "Why? Because some woman is playing mind games?" "Because Choi is dead. Our tech expert is missing, and whoever she is, she's been inside our most secure locations 14 times without being caught. That's not mind games. That's a threat we don't understand." Park's jaw tightened. "Then let me send a team to the coordinates. We grab her. We question her. We end this." "No. Min-jae stood, pocketing the newest coin. "I'm going alone." "That's insane." "That's an order." Park stared at him for a long moment, then shook his head. "You're going to get yourself killed over curiosity." "Curiosity keeps you alive in this business. Assumptions kill you." "And what if this is a trap? What if she's working with Busan and you walk right into an ambush?" Min-jae checked his gun, a habit more than a necessity. "Then you'll be the one inheriting this mess. Consider it motivation to keep me alive." He left Park standing there and walked out of the building alone, something he rarely did. His driver was waiting with the car, but Min-jae waved him off. "I'm driving myself today." The driver, a man who'd been with the family for 8 years, knew better than to argue. The coordinates led him through Seoul's late afternoon traffic, past the Han River, into neighborhoods that shifted from corporate towers to residential blocks to industrial sectors. Seongdong-gu sprawled ahead of him, a district of contradictions, new money and old factories, luxury apartments built beside warehouses that remembered different eras. The address resolved into a nondescript building, 4 stories, gray concrete, the kind of place designed to be forgotten. Min-jae knew it well. The 3rd floor housed a money-counting operation that processed nearly $2 million a week through legitimate business fronts. He parked 2 blocks away and walked, his hand near his gun, but not on it. The street was quiet, too quiet. No cars, no pedestrians. In Seoul, streets were never this empty at 5 p.m. The building's entrance was unlocked. Min-jae paused. Every instinct screamed trap. But 14 coins had led here, and whoever was leaving them wanted him to follow. The question was why. He climbed the stairs, each step deliberate, listening for any sound that didn't belong. The second floor was silent. The third floor. The door to the money-counting operation was open. Min-jae drew his gun, approached from the side, and looked in. The operation had been cleared out. Not ransacked, cleared. The counting machines were gone. The tables were bare. The safe in the back wall stood open and empty. In the center of the room, sitting on the floor, was Amara Okonkwo. She sat cross-legged, relaxed, like she was waiting for a friend. She wore the same black leather jacket from the security footage, her box braids now hanging loose around her shoulders. On the floor in front of her was a laptop, its screen facing Min-jae. She smiled when she saw him. Not nervous, not scared, genuinely pleased. "Kang Min-jae," she said in perfect Korean, her accent barely noticeable. "Right on time." Min-jae kept his gun trained on her. "Where's my money?" "Transferred. 40 minutes ago. 12 offshore accounts, each below the threshold that triggers international banking alerts. Your operation here processed $1.8 million this week. It's all gone." His finger tightened on the trigger. "Who are you working for?" "Myself." She gestured to the laptop. "Come look. I want to show you something." "You think I'm stupid enough to walk into a room with someone who just stole $2 million from me? I think you're smart enough to realize that if I wanted you dead, you'd have been dead at coin number 7. I had access to your apartment, Mr. Kang. You sleep with a gun under your pillow and another in your nightstand. I could have replaced both with fakes. I could have poisoned your toothpaste. I could have done 100 things." She wasn't wrong. The realization was more disturbing than the theft. "So, what do you want?" "I want you to understand something." She turned the laptop so he could see the screen from the doorway. It showed a financial network map, red lines connecting accounts spreading out like a spider web. At the center was his organization, but the web didn't stop there. It connected to others, names he recognized, the Busan faction, the Incheon group, even the Yakuza operations in Fukuoka. "This is the structure of organized crime finance in East Asia," Amara said. 15 major organizations, 847 shell companies, operations in 11 countries, combined annual revenue of approximately $18 billion. Min-jae stared at the screen. "How did you get this information? I'm very good at what I do." She closed the laptop. "Here's what you need to know. Someone is buying up the infrastructure, the shipping routes, the banking connections, the political contacts. They've been doing it quietly for 2 years, using a network of investment firms that all trace back to one source." "What source?" "I don't know yet. That's why I'm here." Min-jae lowered his gun slightly. "You stole $2 million from me to get my attention for a job interview?" "I stole $1.8 million from you to prove I could. I'm returning it." She pulled out her phone, tapped something, and his phone buzzed. He checked it. A transfer notification. $1.8 million returned to one of his primary accounts, with interest. "The 14 coins cost me about $150,000 to create," she continued. "The security breaches cost me another $200,000 in equipment and planning. I'm not here for your money, Mr. Kang. I'm here because you're about to lose everything, and I'm the only person who can help you figure out who's taking it." Min-jae holstered his gun but didn't relax. "Why should I believe anything you say?" Amara stood, brushing dust off her jeans. "Because Choi didn't die of a heart attack. Because your tech expert didn't disappear. He was disappeared. And because the Busan faction isn't making moves against you. Someone is making it look like they are." "You killed Choi?" "No, but I know who did." She walked to the window, looked out at the Seoul skyline turning gold in the sunset. 3 weeks ago, Choi noticed irregularities in your financial patterns. Small transfers, barely noticeable. He started investigating. 2 weeks ago, he contacted someone he shouldn't have. 1 week ago, he died. "How do you know this?" "Because I was tracking the same patterns. I've been investigating this network for 7 months. It's how I found you." Min-jae's mind raced through implications. If you've been investigating for 7 months, you could be working for whoever's behind this. I could be. But if I were, why return the money? Why show you the network map? Why leave coins that cost more to create than what they could possibly gain in psychological leverage? She had a point, an expensive point. What do you want? He asked again. A partnership. You have access to the criminal infrastructure. I have the financial expertise to track the money. Together, we find out who's buying up the underworld before they finish the job. And then what? Then you decide what to do with that information. I don't care about your business, Mr. Kang. I care about the pattern. Someone is consolidating power on a scale that shouldn't be possible, and I need to know who and why. Min-jae studied her. She was either telling the truth or running the most sophisticated con he'd ever seen. Either way, she was right about one thing. Someone had killed Choi, and it hadn't been a heart attack. The autopsy he'd commissioned privately had found traces of potassium chloride, a chemical that mimicked cardiac arrest and was nearly undetectable without specific testing. "How did you get into my building?" he asked. She smiled. "I'll tell you after you agree to work with me." "That's not how this works." "Then shoot me and go back to your office, and in 6 months when your entire organization is owned by someone else, you can wonder if maybe you should have listened." The audacity was almost impressive. Almost. His phone rang. Park. "We have a situation," Park said without preamble. "The Incheon group just contacted us. They want a meeting. Tonight." "About what?" They wouldn't say. But they're bringing their top people. This isn't a casual conversation. Min-jae looked at Amara, who was watching him with those dark, knowing eyes. "Where?" he asked Park. "The usual place. Gangnam, 8 p.m. "I'll be there." He hung up and turned to Amara. "The Incheon group wants to meet tonight. If you're right about someone manipulating the factions, this could be part of it." "It is," she said. "They're going to offer you a deal. A very good deal. So good you'd be stupid to refuse." "How do you know?" "Because they offered the same deal to the Busan faction yesterday and to the Yakuza operations last week. I've been tracking the pattern." "What kind of deal?" "Consolidation. They'll propose merging operations, sharing territories, pooling resources. They'll frame it as strength against external threats. Chinese triads, Russian mob, whatever bogeyman makes sense. They'll make it sound reasonable. And if I refuse, they'll make it very difficult for you to continue operating independently. Suppliers will dry up, routes will close, accidents will happen. Within 3 months, you'll either accept the deal or you'll be out of business." Min-jae walked to the window, stood beside her. Seoul spread out below them, millions of lights beginning to glow in the dusk. Somewhere in that city, someone was playing a game he hadn't known existed until 14 coins forced him to pay attention. "Come with me to the meeting," he said. "As what? Your consultant? Your accountant? Your mysteriously talented black girlfriend?" "As whoever you need to be. If you can read financial patterns the way you claim, you'll be able to see things in this meeting that I'll miss. And if they recognize me from my little coin-leaving adventures? They won't. You've been careful enough that my own people didn't see you clearly." She considered for a long moment. "All right. But I'm not doing this for free. If I help you navigate this, I want access to your financial records. All of them." "Absolutely not." "Then enjoy your meeting, Mr. Kang. I'm sure it'll go well." She started walking toward the door. Min-jae moved to block her path. "You broke into my organization, stole my money, killed my head of security." "I didn't kill Choi." "And now you're blackmailing me." "I'm offering you a fair trade. You want to know who's taking over your world. I want to know the same thing. But I can't do my job without data. Give me access to your books, and I'll give you insights that will save your organization. Refuse, and we both lose." They stood there, close enough that Min-jae could smell her perfume. Something subtle, expensive, not what he'd expected. Up close, she was even more striking than the security footage had shown. Not just beautiful, but present in a way that demanded attention. "Limited access," he said finally. "Supervised. And if you leak anything, you'll kill me. Yes, I understand how this works. Congratulations, Mr. Kong. You just hired your first financial investigator." The meeting location was a private restaurant in Gangnam, the kind that didn't have a sign and didn't take reservations from people they didn't know. Min-jae arrived at 7:45 p.m. with Park and 2 bodyguards. Amara rode separately, arriving at 7:50 in a black dress that transformed her from the leather jacket operator into someone who looked like she belonged at Seoul's most expensive tables. The Incheon group was already there, 5 of them, led by Kim Dae-jung, a man in his 50s who'd built his organization through a combination of brutal efficiency and surprising sophistication. He wore a custom suit and smiled when he saw Min-jae. "Kang Min-jae, thank you for coming on short notice." They shook hands with the precise pressure that conveyed respect without submission. "Kim Dae-jung, always a pleasure." Dae-jung's eyes moved to Amara. "And who is this?" "Amara Okonkwo, my financial consultant." "Financial consultant?" Dae-jung's smile widened. "I wasn't aware you needed consultation in that area. The world is changing. I'm adapting." They sat at a private table. Traditional Korean dishes arrived without being ordered. Expensive liquor was poured, and for the first 10 minutes they made small talk about business fronts and legitimate investments. Min-jae watched Amara. She ate carefully, spoke rarely, and observed everything. Finally, Dae-jung set down his glass. "Let me speak plainly. The landscape is shifting. We've all felt it. Pressure from outside organizations, complications with traditional routes, suppliers becoming unreliable." "I've noticed," Min-jae said carefully. "I believe it's time we reconsider our approach. Competition has served us well, but cooperation might serve us better. I'm proposing a consolidation, not a merger. We each maintain our territories and our autonomy, but we coordinate, share resources, present a unified front against external threats." It was exactly what Amara had predicted. "What kind of coordination?" Min-jae asked. "Joint operations for major shipments, shared banking infrastructure to reduce costs and increase security, intelligence sharing about rival groups, protection agreements. If someone comes after one of us, they come after all of us." Park leaned forward. "That sounds like you're describing an alliance, not a business arrangement." "Semantics," Dae-jung said. "Call it whatever makes you comfortable. The point is survival. Alone, we're vulnerable. Together, we're untouchable." Amara spoke for the first time. "Who else is involved in this coordination?" Dae-jung looked at her with interest. "Direct, isn't she? I like that. To answer your question, discussions are ongoing with several organizations. Busan is interested, some of the Fukuoka operations as well." "And who approached you with this idea?" Amara asked. The table went quiet. It was a bold question, almost insulting in its implication. Dae-jung's smile never wavered. It was a collective realization. We've all been thinking along these lines. "Really?" "Because from what I understand, the Incheon Group has been very independent. You've refused 3 alliance offers in the past 5 years. What changed?" Min-jae watched Dae-jung's face. A flicker of something, annoyance, respect, crossed it before the smile returned. "The world changed, Ms. Okonkwo. We change with it, or we disappear." "Wise," she said, "though I'm curious about the financial structure of this coordination. Who manages the shared banking infrastructure? Who has access to the joint accounts? Who decides how resources are allocated?" "Details to be worked out." "Of course. But surely you have a preliminary structure in mind." Dae-jung's smile was starting to look forced. "We would establish a management committee, representatives from each organization, decisions made by consensus. And if consensus can't be reached, then we vote. With equal weight or proportional to the size of each organization." Park was staring at Amara like she'd grown a second head. These were questions that Min Jae should have been asking, but she was 3 steps ahead, probing weak points in the proposal that he hadn't even noticed yet. "Ms. Okonkwo," Dae-jung said, his voice cooling, "you're very thorough, perhaps too thorough for a simple dinner conversation." "I apologize," Amara said, though her tone suggested she didn't. "I'm just trying to understand the opportunity Mr. Kang is being offered. In my experience, the details are where opportunities become obligations." "Your experience in what, exactly?" "Financial consulting, as Mr. Kang mentioned." The tension at the table had shifted. Min Jae could feel his bodyguards tensing, Dae-jung's people doing the same. "Perhaps," Min Jae interjected smoothly, "you could provide us with more details in writing. Ms. Okonkwo is right. This is the kind of decision that requires careful analysis." Dae-jung nodded slowly. "Of course. I'll have my people send over a proposal. But I should mention, this opportunity is time-sensitive. We're moving forward with or without your participation. I'd prefer with." "Understood. Give me a week to review the details." 3 days? 5, 4, and that's final. They shook hands again, and the meeting ended. Outside, in the car, Park exploded. "What the hell was that? You brought her to a meeting with Incheon and she interrogates Kim Dae-jung like he's applying for a job." "She was doing exactly what I brought her for," Min Jae said, "asking questions I wouldn't have thought to ask. Questions that almost started a war." Amara, sitting in the back seat beside Min Jae, scrolled through her phone. "He didn't answer a single one of them. That's your answer." "What do you mean?" Min Jae asked. "Every question I asked, he deflected. Who approached him? Collective realization. Who manages the finances? Details to be worked out. How are decisions made? Consensus. It's all smoke. This isn't a proposal, it's a script he's reading from. So you think someone else is behind this? I don't think, I know. Kim Dae-jung is being played the same way you were about to be played. Someone is orchestrating this consolidation, and they're using intermediaries so no one sees the full picture." Min Jae's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "The proposal will arrive tomorrow. I suggest you accept it. For your own sake." He showed it to Amara. She didn't look surprised. "They're watching. They've been watching this whole time. Who? That's what we need to find out, and we have 4 days to do it." The next 3 days were a masterclass in controlled chaos. Amara set up operations in Min Jae's most secure location, a penthouse apartment he used for sensitive meetings. She brought equipment he didn't recognize, programs he'd never seen, and a working method that involved very little sleep and constant coffee. "The proposal came," she said on day 2, barely looking up from her laptop screens. "Did you read it?" "I did." "And?" "It's exactly what you said. Vague on details, specific on deadlines. They want an answer tomorrow." "Don't give them one yet." Min Jae sat across from her. "I need to give them something, or they'll interpret silence as refusal." "Then tell them you're interested, but you need to consult with your financial advisors. Buy us more time." "They gave us 4 days. We're on day 3. "I know. I'm close to something." "Close to what?" Finally, she looked up. Her eyes were bloodshot, her braids pulled back in a messy bun. She looked exhausted and exhilarated. "The shell companies in the network map I showed you, I've been tracing them backwards. They all connect to a series of investment firms registered in Singapore, Luxembourg, and the Cayman Islands. Different names, different structures, but the same signature in how they're set up." "What signature?" "Legal language. Every contract has a unique pattern if you know what to look for. These companies all use identical clause structures in their incorporation documents. Same lawyer drafted them." "So find the lawyer." "I did. He died 2 years ago in a car accident in Geneva." "Convenient." "Exactly. But his firm still exists, and they have records. I've been working on accessing them." "Legally?" She gave him a look. "Right. Stupid question." Min Jae stood, paced. "Even if you find out who's behind the companies, What does that give us? They're obviously powerful enough to orchestrate all this. What do we do with the information? We use it as leverage. If we know who they are, we can negotiate from a position of knowledge instead of ignorance. Or we can expose them to the other organizations and break the consolidation before it completes. Or they kill us for knowing too much. That's always a risk in your line of work, isn't it? His phone rang. Park. We have a problem. The Busan faction just accepted the consolidation offer, publicly. They're announcing it as a new era of cooperation. Min-jae felt his stomach drop. When? 20 minutes ago. It's all over the underground networks. They're positioning it as strength, innovation, protection against external threats. Damn it. What do we do? Nothing yet. Let me call you back. He hung up and looked at Amara. Busan just went public. If we refuse now, we look weak. If we accept, we're trapped in whatever this is. Then we don't refuse and we don't accept. We propose an alternative. What alternative? She stood, stretched, walked to the windows. Seoul glittered below them, oblivious to the power games being played in its shadows. You go to Dae-jung directly, not through official channels. You tell him you've discovered something about the consolidation that concerns you. You offer to share the information in exchange for a delay. He won't accept that. He will if you tell him it's about who's really behind the proposal. He doesn't know either. I could see it in his face at the meeting. He thinks he's in control, but he's just another piece on the board. And what information do I share? Enough to make him doubt. Not enough to reveal what we know. You show him the network map. You point out the connections. You ask him who contacted him first, and you watch his face when he realizes he can't answer that question without admitting he doesn't know. It was risky. It was also the best play they had. Min-jae made the call. They met at dawn at the Han River, a location Min-jae chose because it was public enough to discourage violence, but private enough for sensitive conversation. Dae-jung arrived alone, which was either brave or stupid. You said this was urgent, Dae-jung said without preamble. Min-jae handed him a tablet showing Amara's network map. Do you recognize this? Dae-jung studied it. His expression shifted from curiosity to concern. Where did you get this? My financial consultant is very thorough. What you're looking at is the entire organized crime financial infrastructure in East Asia. 15 major organizations, including ours, all connected through a web of shell companies and investment firms. I'm aware of some interconnection. It's inevitable in our business. Look closer. These aren't random connections. They're deliberate. Someone has been systematically buying up the infrastructure, shipping routes, banking connections, political contacts. They've been doing it for 2 years. Dae-jung's jaw tightened. Who? That's what I was hoping you could tell me. Who approached you about the consolidation? Who made the first call? It was... Dae-jung paused. A lawyer. He represented a group of investors interested in bringing stability to our operations. What was his name? I don't... Park something. He had credentials, references from organizations I trust. Did you verify those references? Of course Dae-jung stopped. Actually, my assistant verified them. He said everything checked out. Where's your assistant now? He quit 3 weeks ago. Took a job in Singapore. Min-jae and Dae-jung looked at each other. Someone is playing us, Dae-jung said quietly. Not just us. All of us. Busan, Incheon, my organization, probably the Yakuza operations too. They're consolidating control by making us think we're choosing to consolidate. Why? Power. Control. Maybe they want to run everything. Maybe they want to shut everything down. Either way, once we're all connected through their infrastructure, they own us. Dae-jung walked to the river's edge, looked out at the water. The proposal I sent you, I need to rescind it. If you do that, whoever's behind this will know we're onto them. Then what do you suggest? We work together. Actually work together, not through some mysterious intermediary's proposal. We share information. We find out who's behind this, Then we decide what to do about it. And the Busan faction? They'll figure it out eventually. Or they won't. Either way, I'm not getting trapped in a system I don't control. Dae-jung turned back to him. Your consultant, the woman from the meeting, she figured this out? Most of it. I want to meet with her. Properly. If she's this good at seeing patterns, I want her looking at my operations too. She's expensive. I'm sure she is. They shook hands again, and this time it felt different. Less performance. More genuine. Back at the penthouse, Amara was still working when Min-jae returned. How did it go? She asked. He's in. We're working together to figure out who's behind this. Good, because I found something. She turned her laptop to show him. A name, a company, a face. The lawyer who drafted all the incorporation documents, his firm was acquired by a larger firm 6 months before he died. That firm is owned by a holding company in Luxembourg, which is owned by another company in Singapore, which is owned by... Get to the point. A woman named Victoria Chen, Chinese-American, 42 years old, Harvard MBA, former investment banker. She dropped off the public radar 8 years ago after making a fortune in tech startups. Since then, she's been building a private investment empire that now controls approximately $40 billion in assets. And she wants to add organized crime to her portfolio? Not add, monopolize. Look at this. She showed him a timeline. 8 years of acquisitions, investments, strategic positioning. Chen had been buying up the infrastructure of organized crime the way someone might buy up real estate. Patiently, systematically, invisibly. She's not doing this for profit, Amara said. The criminal operations are profitable, but not at a scale that would matter to someone managing $40 billion. She's doing this for control. Control of what? Everything. Political influence, law enforcement, judicial systems, money laundering infrastructure. If she controls the major criminal organizations in East Asia, she controls the shadow economy. And if she controls the shadow economy, she has leverage over the legitimate one. Min-jae stared at the screen. How do we stop her? We can't. She's too big, too connected, too protected. But we can make it very expensive for her to succeed. And we can make sure every organization she's trying to consolidate knows exactly what she's doing. She'll come after us. Probably. She'll try to kill us. Almost. Certainly. And you're okay with that? Amara smiled, and it was the same smile she'd had in the security footage, looking directly at the camera. I didn't come here to be safe, Mr. Kang. I came here to understand the pattern. Now I understand it. The question is, what are you going to do about it? 3 months later, Victoria Chen sat in her office in Shanghai reading reports from her legal team. The consolidation had failed. Not completely. 3 organizations had accepted the terms before the exposure. But the key players, Kang Min-jae and Kim Dae-jung, had not only refused, but had actively worked to dismantle the network. They'd shared the information with every major organization in East Asia. They'd exposed the shell companies. They'd traced the money. They'd even found and released documents showing her involvement. Her lawyers assured her she was protected. No criminal charges could stick. The shell companies were legitimate. The investments were legal. But the damage was done. Her shadow consolidation was now public knowledge, and the organizations she'd tried to control were actively working against her. What do you want to do? Her lead counsel asked. Victoria considered. She'd spent 8 years building this network, but 8 years was nothing. She had resources, she had time, and she had patience. We withdraw, quietly, liquidate the East Asian holdings, redirect to Southeast Asia and Eastern Europe. Start fresh. And Kang Min-jae? Leave him alone, for now. In Seoul, Min-jae stood in his office, looking at the 14 coins arranged on his desk. He'd kept them as a reminder that the most dangerous threats weren't the ones you could see coming. Amara walked in without knocking, carrying coffee. She'd become a permanent fixture over the past 3 months. her financial consulting expanding into a full partnership. She'd proven invaluable in restructuring his operations to be more resilient, more transparent, more defensible. Daejung called, she said. He wants to discuss a joint venture in shipping. Legitimate shipping? Surprisingly, yes. He's been taking my advice about diversification. You're going to reform all of us, aren't you? I'm going to make you all harder to kill. There's a difference. She sat on the edge of his desk, picked up one of the coins. Do you know why I really led you here? You said you wanted to understand the pattern. That was part of it. But the truth, I needed someone who could act on the information. I could have discovered Victoria Chen's network on my own. I could have mapped the whole thing, but I couldn't stop it alone. I needed someone with power, with resources, with motivation. The coins weren't just a trail, they were a test. A test of what? Whether you were smart enough to follow them, curious enough to keep going, brave enough to act when you understood what you'd found. Most people would have stopped after coin 3 or 4, sent someone else to investigate, protected themselves. But you kept following. You had to know where they led. And where did they lead? She smiled, set the coin down. Here, to this, to a partnership that neither of us expected, but both of us needed. Min-jae looked at her, at this woman who'd infiltrated his organization, stolen his money, exposed a global conspiracy, and somehow become the person he trusted most in his world. You're dangerous, he said. So are you. That's why this works. She was right. They were dangerous together. Dangerous to people like Victoria Chen, who thought power meant controlling everything. Dangerous to systems that relied on secrecy and ignorance. Outside, Seoul continued its endless motion, millions of lives intersecting in patterns too complex to map. But here, in this office, with 14 coins as evidence, 2 people who shouldn't have trusted each other had found something unexpected. Not love, not yet, but the possibility of it, the beginning of it, the foundation that dangerous people build when they decide to stop fighting each other and start fighting for something together. The coins had led to one place, just like the title promised. Not a location on a map, a moment of choice, and they'd both chosen to stay.